Ladies and gentlemen, we pride ourselves on presenting a variety of approaches not only to cancer but to life. You've just heard a talk on enzymes in cancer, enzyme therapy, and we've had a number of different therapies and approaches today. Well, our next guest is similar theory, a little different approach. He comes to us by way of a technical degree in computer programming and systems analysis, which seems perhaps not to be compatible with some of what we're discussing. But an event in his life, mainly multiple myeloma, kind of changed the course of his life. And so the search for a way to treat it that's effective and safe led him into a totally new way of living. And our author, our friend, Aajonus Vonderplantiz, is going to tell us now about raw foods and cancer. Aajonus Vonderplantiz. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. Probably this is going to be the opposite of everything you've heard before. I'm called the upside down man. I had multiple myeloma, which is cancer of the blood and bone. Very few people survive. I started with an ulcer, and it was treated. It ended up tumorous. They treated that with surgery and radiation, and that gave me the blood and bone cancer, multiple myeloma. And then they treated that with chemotherapy and ended up with lymphoma. And they left me crippled. I was practically paralyzed from the chest down. To maneuver, I had to roll off the couch and crawl with my elbows to the kitchen or to the bathroom. It would take me sometimes 30 minutes. I would have to rest sometimes up to 30 minutes at a time just to go 10 feet. I decided that the doctors had not a clue of what had anything to do with health. So I abandoned them, left them completely, and began the study of nutrition. It turned my life around very gradually. It took me 13 years to find a particular diet that would work. In my book, We Want to Live, I give a lot of the testimonials, the experiences of people who have tried this particular diet. Now, you've heard, I'm sure, about people should not eat meat, that meat is carcinogenic, that meat will poison you. That is true. However, if you eat it raw, it is just the opposite. There are many cultures that thrived on raw meats and raw foods. If you cook meat, you form heterocyclic amines and lipid peroxides, which are carcinogenic. And over a long period of time, these collect. All cooked foods create that. In cooked carbohydrates, no matter if it's fruit or grains or potatoes or any kind of potato product, they form advanced glycation end products. New York City Medical University did research on advanced glycation end products, and they found that the byproduct of advanced glycation end products, that's when you use glycogen as fuel, like we use fuel and we end up with monoxides. We have advanced glycation end products that form. Now, they found that in a healthy body, they store at a rate of 70%. That means every time you eat a carbohydrate, whether it's raw or cooked, a fruit, a grain, a cookie, no matter what it is, you will store 70% of that toxin if you're healthy, 90% if you're unhealthy. Basically, this is an argument against the human body being a grain eater or a fruit eater. That's why so much diabetes is developed. What happens with this advanced glycation end product, the body tries to ward it off with fats. It can't find the proper fats, so it binds with bile and other hormones like adrenaline. and it causes plaquing throughout the system. We find that cholesterol is really not the problem. Cholesterol involved in bile and all forms of chelation processes to neutralize and prevent toxins from damaging the system. What this does is it creates a great environment for cancer, because cancer thrives in a glycogen-like environment. So those people who eat grains, who eat carrot juice, that's a risk. All of the ones that I follow who have eaten carrot juice and high carbohydrate foods like beets go into remission for a while and then end up having cancer again. Now, I put my multiple myeloma and my other cancers, and by the way, I had 4 other incurable diseases, diabetes, psoriasis, angina pectoris, and bursitis, all incurable, all extremely painful. With the particular diet that I use, which is all raw foods, I don't even cheat, all raw foods, I eat raw milk, lots of raw eggs, raw meats, chicken, fish, beef, lamb, all of them. It reversed all of my diseases. I did the raw food vegetarian fruitarian program in my exploration and experimentation for 6.5 years. After 6.5 years, it started decomposing my bone and other tissue. That's when I found the raw meat, because it was my only promise. The Eskimo, before the Germans brought in cauldrons, didn't cook a thing. 99% of their diet was meat, animal products. They had absolutely no degenerative disease. The first degenerative disease in an Eskimo was found in a 50-year-old man who had been living in a German colony, German and British colony, eating white man's food, which was lots of breads and sugars. He developed a dental carie. They had no cavities, not even cavities. The first case of cancer in the Eskimos wasn't until 1934. Then you take a look at the Maasai tribe in Africa. Nothing but raw milk, raw blood, fresh, mixed together, equal portions, and raw meats. They are considered the healthiest, tallest, strongest, smartest tribe in the world. They eat no vegetation. Now, because I was not raised a raw fooder, I was very toxic and very sick, and I was very sickly as a child. So by the time I was 19, I had developed my cancer of the stomach and went from there. So what I found was my blood gets very acidic. So to counterbalance that, what I do is have 4 cups of green vegetable juice a day. About 60 to 80% celery, 20% parsley, and I will use summer squash like zucchini or cucumber, or the funny-looking 50s flying saucer-looking squash. And that, in between my meals, and I keep it very methodical. I have my juices when I wake up to make sure my blood's alkalinized. Then I'll have meat or a smoothie with raw milk and raw eggs. And then I'll have meat, or vice versa. And then I'll have juice again. And I do that pattern all day long. I've done it with hundreds of people with terminal illnesses, not just cancer. And 98% of the time, it reverses it. That doesn't mean it completely goes into remission, but it completely reverses all conditions. Out of all of the heart conditions, where we have all kinds of, whether it's plaquing or collapsed arteries, it reverses 85% of it. Diabetes, it controls completely, so you no longer have to take insulin. It is a far stretch for most people, but it is a moderately expensive way to go about it. Because if you're looking to replace your enzymes destroyed in your cooked foods, you're gambling because you don't know exactly what enzymes you particularly are going to need to counterbalance the toxins that are formed in the cooked food as well as the missing enzymes. What happens when you eat a cooked food is that your pancreas has to send out hormones to go to every cell and say, I need you to give me enzymes and vitamins and nutrients. We've got a load of food here that we're going to have to handle, and we don't have the enzymes to do it because they've been destroyed. We have heterocyclic amines. We have lipid peroxides. We have advanced glycation end products. We have all these toxins and nothing to handle them with. If you're eating them raw, you don't have to do that. So every time you eat a cooked meal, you're leaching from your body's own constitution. So you're weakening yourself. If you eat raw foods all the time, you're always supplying them. Now, I found that if you drink 2 cups of that vegetable juice a day, it takes care of the additional enzymes and alkalinity necessary to balance the body. If you drink an extra 2 cups, then you'll be resupplying very gradually all of the enzymes lost throughout the years of eating cooked foods. It makes a lot of sense, but because we have so much confusion about raw bacteria and the unavailability of some foods like the dairy and the bacteriophobia that has run it out of the counties, it makes it a little expensive to get it and sometimes difficult to get it, but it can be gotten in every state. The bacteria issue has all been a theoretical one. It's all assumption, presumption. Nobody's proven any of it. I had a vagotomy when I had the stomach surgery. That means they severed every nerve to my stomach. I do not generate hydrochloric acid. So the medical profession puts me in a class of octogenarians who do not secrete hydrochloric acid, who they say are in danger of developing bacterial and parasitical food poisoning and danger of death. Just to rile you a little bit, I've eaten parasite-infested salmon that was undulating with pinworms. It was almost white. Had my feces checked for 10 weeks after. Blood test did not develop one parasite. I also did it with fluke worm-infested calf brain and also with chicken-infested tripe, which is the intestines. I did not develop any parasites. The concept that people are eating that you can get parasites and bacterial poisoning from your raw meats is not a fact. I've done laboratory tests with animals and was not able to produce the worms in those animals in any case. I've been not able to produce them in my own body. All your degenerative tissue that exists in your body attracts and creates and gestates worms if you are in need of them. One particular test I did where I used dogs and cats who were already fluke infested, not all the same type of flukes, because finding them the same types and getting enough animals that already had them, so we didn't have to infuse them. So we were not able to distinguish whether they had, not able to put in as many categories to say, here, these all had brain flukes, these all had intestinal flukes. So we just put them all together, but we had an equal number of cats, an equal number of dogs, and we had 3 groups. One of the groups, the first group, ate regular kibble and canned food. They got group A of 1 had pharmaceutical dewormers. Group 1B had homeopathic dewormers or herbal dewormers. Group 2 got all raw foods, raw meats, raw butter, raw eggs. These were cats and dogs. They were split up into 2 groups, pharmaceutical and herbal or homeopathic. Group 3 got no dewormers and just the raw foods. In group 1, A and B, 40 to 60% died, and those that recovered were pretty lethargic. In group 2, A and B, the reduction, who were on raw foods, the reduction of death was down from 10 to 25 to 30%. On group 3, there were no deaths. Group 3 took a lot longer to heal because they had to deal with the parasites. But when we finished the test after 6 months, they were all like puppies and kittens, even if they were 13 to 15 years old. After some of them died, we did, later over the years, we did autopsies on them and found that the tissues were quite renewed. So the only conclusion that we could come to was that the parasites fed on the degenerative tissue, and that because the raw meat was available for them to regenerate tissue quickly, there was no ulceration, which is the danger in parasites. The University of Toronto, in association with the Hospital for Sick Children of Toronto, has been using the verotoxin produced by E. coli to completely dissolve brain tumors in a matter of 5 to 7 days, including the vessels going to it. Dr. Lowe at Yale has been doing the same thing with the toxin from salmonella, and actually the salmonella to eat up tumors. So you don't have to be afraid of bacteria. Some people will get diarrhea, and some people will get nausea because you have bile that starts dumping into the stomach and colon, and that is the only side effect when one begins sometimes eating raw meats, because the raw proteins will cause that kind of a detoxification. But the people who've bared with it and gone through it all develop wonderfully. Now, I have not exercised in 21 and a half years. This is my exercise, standing up here or on my computer, and this is from eating raw meat. And I stay this way, and my clients stay this way who've been on it for about 3 years or longer. You do not have to worry about anything other than eating food that gives you life and is already full of the enzymes. This is a way for a very few people, but if this is the way you want to go, it's available. And I'll be signing my book out in the foyer after this, and it's very available. Thank you very much.
Aajonus, thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen, you don't necessarily have to rush out now, because he'll be here actually for the next 3 days. He'll be with us the Sunday conference Monday, and then the Doctor Symposium on Tuesday as well.